refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
It was a great victory for Saul Canelo Alvarez, but I think as well, a man to my right that showed plenty of heart and guts, and a round of applause I think for John Ryder for that performance tonight. We're going to go to the media for questions for John Ryder and the team. Mike.
Hey John, congratulations on a great performance. How bad did that nose hurt, and is it broken? What can you talk about how badly the nose was hurt?
Yeah, last punch in the second round. It was just gone. Yeah, not a massive shot, but I felt it go instantly, and then the blood in the back of my throat straight away. So it really threw me for a couple of rounds. But it is what it is. It's a new experience in the boxing ring, and something I'll learn from.
Is it broken?
I think so. Yeah.
And lastly, for me, I know you obviously came here to win, and that showed in all the courage you displayed in there. Do you feel at least some moral victory going the distance?
Listen, you can't ever win. That's the ultimate goal. Going the distance is. I made a fight of it for a while, but on the scorecards it wasn't that close. So, no, moral victories maybe, yeah, but obviously I can't live a dream. I didn't achieve it, so I don't really know.
Who's the next plan in your career? Who's the next plan?
I don't know. I'd have a nice rest now with the family, sit down with Tony, Charlie, Eddie, and we'll see where we go from there.
What's the overriding emotion right now?
Just gutted. I've put so much into the sport over the last few years, and not always got the rub of the green. Come in with a dream, like I said. It fell short, but that's boxing. But the first, I won't be the last.
How good was he?
He was very good. I still think he's probably past his best, but he's still enough in his tank tonight.
When you say you're gutted, is there any part of you that's aware of how much you probably enhanced your reputation tonight?
Well, listen, I've not looked at social media yet and all the feedback, so listen, I might sit there tomorrow with my family, enjoy them. The next couple of days, have a look on social media, see what the feedback is, and go from there.
You just said that he's probably past his best. Why do you say that?
He couldn't get me out of there. His plan was to stop me, he didn't. I know I took a great shot in the 5th round, come back swinging, and probably had some good runs after that.
John, you fought the best. Callum Smith, Bellator Saunders. How do you rate Canelo against those opponents?
He's up there. Listen, I feel if the Mosenko in the second round, it probably would have been a different fight. It was great to share them with him. It's been great to share them with every opponent I faced, but obviously ultimately I'm gutted that I didn't get the result. Certainly looking like an absolute victim, a nose in plaster, but listen, I've dared to do, and I've come up short. So obviously the overriding thing is that I'm gutted, but I'll have a good rest now, sit down with Tony, Eddie, Charlie, and see where we go from there.
You're the eighth British opponent Alvarez has beaten. Do you think you did the best of all?
Listen, I need to watch it back. I lasted 12 rounds. That's the cherry on the cake, I suppose.
When you were hurt and dropped, how did you come back so well? Because you did really well in the round straight after. How did you get through that?
It's all that time I thought Nigel Benn, just for what Nigel Benn did, he'd come out swinging. So he'd probably knock him out there. I didn't do that, unfortunately. But listen, I'm in the gym around great fighters, former idols, so I could really pull from the best of the business.
John, over here. Do you have any regrets about tonight's fight?
No regrets, no. Just getting caught with that punch in the second round. I feel like it could have been slightly different moving forward. Took me a few rounds to regroup and readjust. But a great corner, kept me calm, kept me in the fight, and just happy that we lived to see another day and fight another fight.
John, you said before that you think about whether you box on, but after that tonight, is the plan to go again?
Yeah, I think so. Got a lot of enjoyment out of that fight, although I got a busted nose. I'll sit down with the team and the family and just evaluate it.
Eddie, what do you think for
I thought, it was a fantastic performance. I think that once his confidence grew in the fight, he grew in the fight. And I thought the back half of the fight, I thought he was very competitive. I thought he won a couple of rounds in the back end of the fight. I thought Sal looked a bit tired as well, which was a decent pace. But after 5 or 6 rounds, I didn't think he'd get through that. And I think, there's always fans and people always like to question fighters' hearts, which they should never do. But what we saw tonight was a fighter with lots of heart. And not just lots of heart, someone that was prepared to fight back, not just try and survive, but was prepared to stand and trade. And I thought he boxed really well, and it was surprising. I think early on in the fight, obviously the nose would have been different, but once he started believing in himself, I thought he was effective in the fight. And to come back and make it competitive in the latter stages was incredible, considering the punishment and the damage that he took to his nose.
John, for John now moving forward.
Lots of options. I mean, look, I think the first thing is a rest. He hasn't been that active over the years because we've always been waiting for slots and mandatory positions that he was in. But there's a lot of American super middleweights that are going to want to fight John Ryder. His stock's going to rise in the UK as well. He can headline back there as well. So first things first, deserves a nice holiday, and I think his stock's risen immensely tonight.
John, after 12 rounds in the ring with Canelo, how can you describe him as a fighter? And as well, how can you describe this night in Guadalajara?
Listen, he's a great fighter, great tactician. You can see he's always down to the data from the early rounds and just set traps in the middle rounds and just really execute it. So he's a fantastic fighter, but I knew that coming into this. Mexico has been unbelievable to me this week. I'm so welcome. Genuinely has felt like home. If anyone wants me to headline the show again, I definitely would. It's been great. The people have really embraced me, talked to me, so it's been fantastic.
John, this one is for Eddie Hearn, please.
Yeah.
How can you describe this warrior? He looks like a Mexican, like sometimes. All my respect. How can you describe him?
Very proud of him. Very proud of him, and the job that Tony and the gym and Dan Lawrence has done. The conditioning is everything. When you're that fit, he could have done another 5 rounds tonight. Sal looked tired as well. It was a warm night. There's a lot of pressure on him. But to come back into the fight after looking like it was a one-sided fight in the first 6 rounds to making the back half competitive at least was he should be very proud of himself, and he proved that he's a world-class fighter. Last question, guys, I think we need to get John.
John, you talked a lot of time that you think you deserve this chance since the fight against Canelo Smith. But how do you feel the fights after that gave you the experience to give this performance?
Yeah, I mean, obviously after the Canelo Smith fight, I was gutted and COVID came about, so it was a real inactive 2 years for me. I got some good fights last year with Danny Jacobs and Zach Parker, so stood me in good stead for this fight. After the years of COVID, 1 fight a year for 2 years, and then having 2 fights last year, 2 good wins. It was great to start off the year with that goal in mind, and I just want to finish the year strong now.
Last question.
John, is there a reason you stood up in between rounds?
Yeah, I just felt like when I sat down I couldn't really get my breath, so I had the towel in my mouth. I just couldn't get a good breath in, so I decided to stand.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, great performance, John Ryder.
I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,